Buckle up, excellence junkies, because this podcast is definitely for you. Welcome to Rockafuel. Do you wish that you could surround yourself with people that love to kick ass just like you? Well, come to my party, baby, and meet some of the brightest stars in the entrepreneurial galaxy, because it is my mission to give these entrepreneurs a platform to declare what they are on this planet to accomplish and to show you why they are rocket fuel. And we're live! Woo! Welcome to the Rocket Fuel podcast, guys. I am so happy to have you here because have you ever wondered if the things going on in your body could possibly be affected by what you're eating, right? I find that I have these conversations with my husband all the time. He loves eating red meat, and I'm just like, you know what? When I eat a burger and steak like too many times a week, I just don't feel right. And I don't know what that means. Well, we have an expert with you. I'm going to love this episode because Heather Wise of Skillful Means, she has dedicated herself to helping people understand how to understand what's going on in their body and how food is actually an influence. And so, Heather, thank you so much for joining. I have a lot of questions that I have not brought up in our other discussions because I know that you are the guru of this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Wanda. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to fire away.
So tell me, first of all, I don't want to throw in the science just yet, but tell me a little bit about your journey in just understanding gut health and why did this become important to you?
Yeah, well, I grew up, my mom's a doctor. So I always was thinking about my body, and I was thinking about what she does to help people. And I was always thinking about what I was putting in my body, but I didn't have clarity, at a young age about any of these things, about food and how that made me feel. I knew that I was feeling lethargic. I knew that I was having maybe some blood sugar swings from a very young age. I knew that I was feeling bloated after almost every meal. And I had a chronic anxiety as a kid that I didn't know that, because that was just the fish swimming in the water. You know what I mean? I didn't see those things. So I had all these health symptoms that my mom, as a doctor, wasn't trained to address a lot of these things, because, a lot of physicians are trained more to help you once it becomes a chronic illness, right? But I kind of had this intuitive sense from a young age that if I didn't do something now, that it was going to turn into something later. And so I guess it was around after college that I decided to take a year off of school, of my career trajectory, and really just focus on listening to my body. And I dove into a bunch of research about the microbiome. I played around with my diet. And
what's the microbiome? I researched the microbiome. What the heck is that?
Great question. Yeah. So our microbiome, which I learned, from researching it, is really a community. It's like an ecosystem within our bodies of trillions of different microbes that make up our digestive system, that communicate with our nervous system, that make up the majority of our immune system and our immune response to different things. So play a big role in inflammation and our metabolism as well.
So like bacteria, basically. So this is good bacteria that's in your body. And is this, it's always in the gut, or is, I guess the gut is your stomach and your intestines, right?
Yeah. So the majority of it, about 80 to 90% of the microbes in our bodies do exist within our gut, and, all along our intestinal tract, from our, all the way from our ears to the back of our throat, all the way down our esophagus, to our stomach and our intestines. But we do have microbes on our skin and, in our hair, everywhere. And so we have a skin microbiome as well. Yeah, it's a huge ecosystem that has been largely overlooked and not understood and not really, not really considered in our modern medical world and in the way that we treat illness. And I think it's at the forefront of all the scientific research. And that's why I wrote my book, A Gut Feeling, Conquer Your Sweet Tooth by Tuning into Your Microbiome, because that's what I did. I started listening to my cues. I had sugar cravings. I had blood sugar, fluctuations. I had fatigue. I had depression. I had anxiety. And I learned that all of these microbes basically determine how we feel in our bodies. So they make up, for example, 90%. They create 90% of the serotonin in our bodies are created by our gut microbiome.
What?
Yeah. So
serotonin, but serotonin influences like depression and anxiety. I mean, there's so many like mental health issues that are driven by this external thing that is creating serotonin in our body. This is nuts. So first of all, okay, I'm going to step back because there's a lot of stuff to unpack here, right? I have to say that, like, the silly thing, as you're talking about all of this, I'm thinking, holy crap, I have like bacteria like all over my body. So, but this is like a synergistic experience that we have in this world, right? And just because they're microscopic, we don't realize that. But you also can't sanitize the heck out of your body because they're helping you. Right. You're helping them and they're helping you.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get over like the heebie-jeebies of saying, okay, there's bacteria all over our body, but to recognize that it's actually a critical part of our existence, right, that it's synergistically helpful. And that basically so what I'm understanding is that our body doesn't work right if we don't have the right combination in our community.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we need to have diversity. So essentially what research
we need to diversify our communities. No, sorry.
Yeah. It's like our body is like a little eco organism of like the larger ecosystem it really lives in and resides in. And that's why in our modern Western culture, there are so many of these health conditions and chronic illnesses that aren't as prevalent in some third world countries because they do have more exposure. And of course, then they have more of the infectious diseases, right, that we can treat. So it's really about finding that happy medium of like, using modern medicine to keep us healthy, but not overusing our sanitation, right, to the point where we're not going outside or we're not, we're using too many chemicals in our homes that we're breathing in. And, so all of these things are things that we start to think about. And, I think that for an environmentalist, right, for somebody who understands how an ecosystem works, it's very clear. Anybody who's gardened before, right, who has done a garden, they know, okay, I can't just plant this one crop, and like spray it and expect it to grow. I have to provide it with nutrients. I have to maybe plant some other crops to keep away pests, right? And then I can't eat it if I spray it with all these chemicals. So our bodies are the same way. And we have to find the happy medium between like modern technology, right, and like medications and chemicals and things, and our natural environment and foods to support this ecosystem and help it to really thrive.
Yeah. Okay. So intuitively, I'm just getting the vibes that for the benefit of the audience, there are folks out there that are experiencing depression and anxiety. And I think I cut you off in the excitement, but I think your statement about serotonin being actually created by these microorganisms is really interesting. So can you dig into that a little bit more? Like, what can people do to even understand if their microbiome is affecting their mental health?
Yeah. I mean, so this is really what I work on with people from day one. It's all about, starting to put into words, right, those cues that our body's sending us, we live in a culture, in a society that's very much trained us, from school age kids all the way through our career to do this mind over matter, rely heavily on your brain. The microbiome really teaches us there's this entire nervous system. It's called the enteric nervous system within our gut that produces these chemicals like serotonin and GABA and other chemicals that help us have that relaxed, focused calm in our bodies and actually determine how much nutrients we're absorbing from our foods. So, it's all really connected, and that's why I'm so passionate about the microbiome, because it's like scientific, research on how our brain and our body are connected, but really how our body's really running the show. And how can we work with our body and have a win-win situation where we're listening to our body, we're giving our body what it's asking us for, whether that's movement, rest, sleep, different types of foods. How can we decipher those cravings for different foods to understand our own body's microbes that are in our bodies and crying out for different foods, right? And start to feed our body and respond to those in a way that our body is happy and that we are also satisfied and, feel really great on a daily basis, have high energy, sleep well at night, get rid of inflammation and aches and pains, balance our blood sugar, all of these things that are precursors to, larger problems.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to put a pin in cravings. Okay. So remind me of that. But I encourage you guys to keep listening, because clearly this is going to be like super interesting. But Heather actually put together this amazing piece. And you know that every single episode here at Rocket Fuel has a catchword, because we know that these experts can serve you much more than just this little tidbit of information, right? So I asked Heather to put something together that would serve you guys. And she put together this great guide on just an introductory discussion of what is your body trying to tell you. Okay. I think part of this whole process is starting to recognize that our body is speaking to us in different ways. And it's not just through like, oh, my stomach is rumbling or I'm bloating, but all of these other factors that may be connected to the microbiome. And she goes into the science a little bit more, her story. I really appreciate, Heather, that you put this together. So I have this handy, and it's green. Yeah, because I have a green screen. All right. So for those of you watching the video, but this piece is, what is your body trying to tell you? And to receive this right now, you can text RF for Rocket Fuel, RF-Qs, CUES, to 411321 if you're in the US. So that the phone number is 411321. The message is going to be RF-CUES, RF-Qs. And we're going to ask for your email address if you've never texted a catchword before. And instantly in your email, look for it. If it by accident it goes in your spam box or the promotional box, whatever, you want to actually pick this up. This is a great primer to start understanding this concept of the microbiome. I mean, it was completely intriguing to me, Heather. I think I've only looked at my gut and what it tells me based on gut symptoms, right? And for you to kind of help us understand like the entire ecosystem is really interesting. And so not only do you receive this, but actually Heather put together a course called the Gut Feeling Course. And it's fantastic. Tell us a little bit more about what the course is and how it supports people.
Yeah. So I found, like, from working with one-on-one people that were kind of going through a lot of some similar learning objectives, right? Like in the beginning of understanding our microbiome and understanding how to create an environment in our home that's going to support our microbiome, right? From having foods on hand, having snacks, healthy snacks on hand, things like this are really important so that we can respond to our body's cues and we don't have to grab something that we're going to regret later.
Yeah.
So it's all about setting ourselves up for success and setting ourselves up with everything that we need in our immediate environment. And so the first part of my program is really just doing that, like creating our food oasis, both at home and on the go, and how to do that. And then we dive into some gut brain trainings where we're quieting our nervous system so that we can start to open up those channels of communication with our bodies. And, you know, a lot of people, when they start doing these exercises for the first time, they'll say their whole body got goosebumps and like all these things, like their body's like already like responding. Like
I've been trying to tell you these things. I needed a translator. Right?
Yeah, it's literally like that. These gut brain trainings are literally a time for us to say, okay, brain, right? Like you're going to take a back seat just for a minute and we're going to give the spotlight, we're going to give the stage to our bodies. And our bodies are like crying, like, finally, finally I'm being heard and I'm being listened to. And I think that we all like really deeply really need that time with our own bodies to give it that attention and that care, and so it can be so healing. And then it just opens up those lines of communication. We start to, if we weren't paying attention to certain symptoms, then we start to say, okay, yep, I need to do something about that. Or if we were overthinking a certain symptom, we can, a lot of people tell me that after doing the exercise, they realize that, that's literally just their body telling them to do this practice, for example,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just trying to get their attention, but it's not something that they need to be worrying about, right? So our body's always trying to get our attention. And once we start doing these exercises, sometimes those symptoms, some of those symptoms start quieting down immediately because they're like, oh, I'm being heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like amazing how our bodies, through our nervous system, through all the nerves in our stomach and all along our spinal cord and brain, really communicate with us. And I mean, we're still, like I said, at the forefront of understanding the microbiome and all of the science and all the potential behind it. But I think like we, in like 100 years, we're going to be so advanced just from understanding this and how to treat illness. So we do those practices, these gut brain trainings, and then we also dive into the science of the microbiome so that we understand on a logical level, right, and a rational level, what's happening in our bodies. Because I think we need to have that, our brain needs to have this rational understanding just to validate that experience.
Yeah. So this is interesting because, I have a healthcare background. I have a doctorate in pharmacy. So, I would fall into this like logical brain, but I love woo-woo, what would be considered woo-woo stuff, right? Which I actually don't believe is woo-woo. I feel that energies and energy transfers, very scientific thing. The concept of the ecosystem of your body, like totally makes sense from a scientific perspective, but we tend to put it in the woo-woo box, right? We were talking earlier that very commonly you'll have people that have that awareness that they're yoga practitioners or they're in the holistic space, and those are the folks that more easily transition to understanding this. And I think that's kind of unfortunate that that's the case, because this makes sense. Like the engineers, the scientists, like we should all be opening up and perking up to this. So I have an interesting question. Your mom, being the doctor, the scientist, how did she feel when you started exploring this, and what's her reaction? Is it like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew this, or humbug?
Yeah, I think she was very accepting of it, but I think there's that rational part of her that doesn't fully understand it still. But it's interesting because I wrote this book like 3-4 years ago, and just in the past year, so it's kind of taken her that long, like just in the past year, she's started doing more practices on her body, like to listen to her body. And sometimes it just takes time to like really settle and like feel it out, right, for folks. And I've already seen such a shift like in her as a person, just like in the past years since she started doing some of these practices. And at Skillful Means, which is my husband's and mine's company, is basically all of our programs are about how to apply mindfulness, right, to an area of our life. And I think that with these trainings, these gut brain trainings, it's really just a way of, I think mindfulness sometimes can be kind of a catchword, right? That nobody really understands what that is. But like I see mindfulness as just being more intentional, right, about a specific area of your life. And so being more intentional, like, oh, I want to listen to my body, right? And that's all it really is. It's like mindfulness on the body, or mind body practices, or gut brain trainings, whatever you want to call them. It's really just saying, I'm going to be very intentional about understanding my body and what it's trying to tell me. And a lot of people say when they come to me that they've always been convinced, that there's a better way to live, and they're just like finally ready to commit to that, to be intentional about it, right? And it doesn't, you don't have to do a 200-hour yoga training. You don't have to ever go to a yoga class to be more intentional about how to take care of your body, right?
Yeah, it's just a commitment. I view it as there's a certain point where unfortunately we get complacent, and we're kind of like, well, this is how it is, right? This is how it is. Oh, I guess I'm older, or I guess, I haven't been feeding myself well, or I guess I'm fat, or I guess I'm out of shape, or I guess I always have a nervous stomach, or I get, you know what I mean? So you tell yourself these stories, and in a way that you don't open yourself up to a possible solution, right? And sometimes, honestly, I think it's because I know for me, I'll speak for myself, sometimes I don't want to be disappointed that it didn't work out for me, but that's not an excuse to not try it, right? And so I think
you're an entrepreneur, that failure was the foundation of your business.
Absolutely. So, I speak to those folks that are experiencing all the things, right? They're like, okay, I've been frustrated with always bloating after I'm eating, or, oh, I've been told I have this diagnosis or that diagnosis, or, my depression, my anxiety, all these things. And I'm not saying that this is like the end all be all, but I think it's important for us to recognize that there is a synergistic experience that is going on, right? There are that it doesn't hurt to take a look and see if this could be a factor, and even provide incremental benefit, right? What I failed to do is, my brain is all over the place because I'm very excited about this topic, but I failed to offer folks in our international audience the opportunity to text for what is your body telling you. And so if you are international outside of the US, you can text RF-Qs to +1 909 741 1321. So it's +1 909 741 1321 is the number. The message is RF-Qs. That's all one a number, and it's QCUES, not Q's like a line. and we'll ask you for your email address. Instantly, you're going to receive this compilation that Heather put together, which is super helpful. You'll get a link to access that course that she was referring to. She also provided her email address, which is awesome to be able to have direct access to you. To ask these questions. I want to clarify that I think you putting together the course is really valuable, because I know that you work with people on a group level, and you work with people one-on-one, right? But as experts, we know that it's helpful for everybody to have a baseline foundation, right? So that you could really do your best work. And when you find yourself repeating the basics and the foundation, it makes sense to put it in a course. So guys, if you feel like, okay, I want this stuff resolved, just recognize a course isn't going to resolve it. The course is what gives you the foundational mindset and understanding to start doing the work, right? And so I wanted to mention that I know, Heather, you and your husband, you serve people on a much larger level. Once people are really committed to this, it's not like super easy, like a snap to make this change. I mean, I've been eating crap or whatever I'm eating. Actually, I don't really eat crappy, but the stuff that I'm eating may not be the right things, for me. But I've been doing this for a very long time. So to change that is really, really difficult. And I wanted to confirm, oh boy, it's skillful means.life, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to put that up on the screen. But while I am doing that, I wanted to talk about cravings, because when we talk about our body giving us cues, sometimes those cravings don't seem like the right thing for my body. Like, what if I'm craving a lot of sweets and potato chips or whatever? Why is my body craving that? Is it telling me that it needs it, or what's going on there?
Yeah. So if we are craving sweets, for example, and we go through all this in my course, but there's multiple reasons. So it's all about deciphering those cravings, right? So we're not ignoring them. We're not like, oh, I'm not supposed to be craving that, right? That's step one. Is like, okay, I'm craving
Which
this.
is a common thing. It's like, yeah,
right.
You're not supposed to be doing this. So just forget about it. It's like, I can't forget.
And if we ignore it, it's just going to come back with a vengeance, right?
Yeah.
Because our body is not going to let go like that. And ultimately, our body is much more powerful than our brain, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of research behind that, how we actually make decisions. If you want to read up on how we actually make decisions at the end of the day, it comes from a gut feeling. It comes from our, instinct. Like, we can rationalize all the reasons all day long, but then when it comes to making that decision, we make a gut instinct. And so our bodies really are running the show. And so we're going to pretend like we can just ignore what our body's trying to tell us, then we're not going to, find success with that. So the step one is, this is what's happening. What is my body trying to tell me? Then it's opening up that conversation, that dialogue with our bodies, right? And then in learning all about the microbiome, we learn things like, oh, we crave sweets when our blood sugar is low, right? And, oh, well, why is my blood sugar low? I just ate 2 hours ago, right? So then we start to say, oh, okay, well, maybe my blood sugar is a little bit out of whack right now for some reason. It could be due to a number of reasons. Our sleep can affect our blood sugar. Our stress levels majorly affect our blood sugar levels. We say, okay, how can I bring this back into balance? The reality is, if we eat something that is going to spike our blood sugar, like bread or dessert or candy or something, then what's going to happen? Our insulin response is going to drop our blood sugar again to protect us from that insulin spike. So we're just in this yo-yo, right? So if we can start to discern some of these signals as like, oh, my blood sugar is out of whack, right? And if I eat something sweet, that's just going to continue this yo-yo cycle. What can I eat right now that's going to satisfy my sweet craving, but bring my body back into balance? And that's really, step one in my program, is learning all about blood sugar. But then we learn all about other things that we can decipher, like cravings for salty things. What does that mean? How do we decipher that, right? So we learn about how our bodies work and why they're sending these signals that they never taught us in biology class for some reason. Like the things that we're supposed to know about our body, they never taught us. So I like to help people decipher and understand their bodies and their microbiomes and how these things work. And our microbiome plays a big role in our blood sugar as well. So
oh my gosh. So is it possible to have certain bacteria in your gut that desire the sweets, so they're like sending out signals that like make you want to eat it? Or is it typically, driven by your own body? Like, just
so
curious.
If we consistently have low or high blood sugar, insulin is one way that our body tries to regulate it, but microbes are another way that our body tries to regulate our blood sugar. So different types of microbes actually grow because, there's consistently high blood sugar, which again doesn't necessarily mean it's due to our diet. Stress can cause our bodies to release glucose into our bloodstream, can cause our bodies have all sorts of ways to regulate our blood sugar and to respond to stress, right? Like 100 years ago, if we were under stress, it probably meant that we needed to like fight a intruder or like a tiger or like run from a tiger, right? So our bodies are primed to release glucose and cause a blood sugar increase when we're under stress. But these days, when we're sitting at a computer and we're just responding to an email, we don't necessarily need that much glucose, right?
Right. Yeah. It's not relatively, you don't need to, that boost of sugar. Right. That's very interesting too. Yeah. I didn't think about it in that way. Sure. When long ago, we're in a stressful situation, you need that boost of energy. That's why you would also get that craving, like for the carbohydrate, like runners and stuff, right? I need the pasta, I need the sugar, whatever, because you need that boost of energy. But for us, it's like we're stressed out, but we don't necessarily need the boost of sugar to manage that stress. It's just a different world.
Yeah. So we have a whole community of microbes that are there to eat that excess sugar to help our bodies balance that blood sugar. And thus, that's why we have this kind of epidemic of, fungal overgrowth. And there's all sorts of other reasons why that happens in our modern culture. But the fungal microbes are the ones that eat sugar and eat excess blood sugar, and they're there to help us. And so I don't think we should look at it like, oh, we need to get rid of these, right? It's just that we need to correct this imbalance of why is our blood sugar going up and down in the first place. And then the microbes will sort themselves out, essentially. But
right, they'll be like, I'm going to pack it up. There's nothing here for me, so I'm out. Oh my goodness, this is great. Okay, well, we're well past our 30 minutes. This was fantastic. We'll definitely have to have you back on the show because I'm upset. I have all my questions. I have so many questions to ask. I know that it influences, allergies, or you had mentioned like food intolerances and stuff like that. And oh my goodness, thank you so much, Heather, for joining us and really helping connect what I'm sure a lot of our listeners kind of had an intuitive sense about, right? I think we've all, well, I hope if we can listen to our body, if at least we're open, we get that sense when something is not settling well with us. And it's not just about the stomach. Oh, I feel really nervous when I do this or when I eat this or whatever. And so to connect that and to help educate us about the microbiome, this is really, really interesting. And so I want to give people the final opportunity in this episode. If you are experiencing gut symptoms, if you're experiencing, what else would you say? Anxiety, depression, what are the common cues?
Yeah, I think fatigue and aches and pains in our body are a sign of our joints are inflamed. This is really common. Anxiety, definitely. Depression, definitely.
Sleep?
Yes, absolutely. Sleep, because serotonin and GABA, that's what determines our sleep as well. How we sleep at night.
Excellent, excellent. So please just start the journey. Text for what is your body trying to tell you. Heather Wise put this together, expert in gut health, author of A Gut Feeling. So please text RF -Qs, CUES to 411321. You'll receive it instantly. You can start your journey and just educating yourself. She gives you the opportunity to connect with her, to get her course if this is something that you want to do for you, your family. Now, I just love everything about this. So I really, really encourage, honestly, I don't think that there's anybody that is listening that should not text, to be honest with you, but the people that are ready to make the move are definitely folks that have been experiencing some of these cues, and it doesn't hurt to start evaluating what are you putting in your body that could potentially be modified and impact and improve your life, right? We're talking here to those excellence seekers, the people that want to live life on 11. Are you an optimizer? Then this is a way of really, really shifting not only your life, but your family's life, right? Because if you're setting this up for your children and such, the awareness very early on is amazing. And then if you're an international listener, remember you could text to +1 909 741 1321. messages, RF-Qs, and don't forget to put your email address. Heather, any final words as we wrap it up this time? Because you're coming back, definitely.
All I can say is that keep nourishing your body and your soul, because all of these things are connected. And that's what my course is really all about, is just aligning what we're passionate about, what we enjoy doing, and like eating sweets. Like I love to eat sweets, right? with our values and like valuing our health and wellness. How can we get both, and recipes and the support and the community in my program that sets everybody up for success. So I'm just really excited to talk with folks.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for joining us. It is obvious why you are hashtag Rocket Fuel for your clients. So thank you so much. Have a rockin' day, everybody, and take care of yourself. Talk to you soon. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, every one of our episodes is boosted by a value-packed keyword called a catchword. Yeah. This allows our audiences to text to receive even more value from our guests. So take advantage of that great value. And if you share your expertise by guesting on podcasts or TV or speaking in front of live or digital audiences, then you're leaving anonymous fans behind. So go get a catchword at catchwords.com, KETCH words.com, and use podcast20 as a promo code for 20% off your setup fee. Look, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Rocket Fuel podcast so you never miss your jolt of rocket fuel. Until next time, adios.